So when I got to college freshman year, my roommate and I didn't have much in common, but we did have one core goal, and that was to lose our virginity by the end of the year. Now, I had no reason to believe this would happen. High school was not what you would call a fertile time for me. I'd been up the shirt once, and I think if you polled all the girls in my high school, they would say that Graham is the funniest, nicest friend I've ever had. But I was at Vassar College, a former all-women's institution. It was now 60-40 women, and there were a ton of gay dudes. So, we felt together that this was gonna, be a big thing, right? We envisioned that we would just be like swimming in pussy, right? That was the thought we had, right? So because of that, right, we had to develop a system, right? So what if I was giving a girl multiple orgasms, right? And my roommate wanted to come home and bring a girl there and also give her multiple orgasms. Again, we're already not probably probable, so why not just go all the way, right? I mean, this is not really. So this is 1995. It's before cell phones, so I can't text him. But we did have a piece of technology that maybe you may know. It's called the whiteboard, right? And so we're gonna have to write something on the board as a code word, right? He's like, okay. And he's like, I got it. I'm like, okay. He's like, tippy toe. And I'm like, okay. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, right? You can't write tippy toe. They're gonna know in a heartbeat, like, what you're doing, and it's gonna blow up the whole thing, right? So I'm like, do you know a loo? He's like, no, I don't know a loo. I'm like, I don't know a loo. We're gonna write Lou called on the board, right? So if you see Lou called, that means that we're in there doing what we're supposed to be doing, right? And he's like, okay, got it, no problem, right? So months go by. Apparently I didn't need any goggles. There wasn't much swimming as I thought. But it did turn out that being a nice guy was actually pretty good in college, right? There was flirting a little bit and some joking and the tickle game. And so there was one nice young girl named Sarah, and she was in my Introduction to American Politics class, and we were getting along fine, a little flirting a bit. And so on one Friday, I was like, hey, do you want to, I know you have class after this and I don't, do you want to come back to my room afterwards, right? And coming back to the room is a big step in the sexuality of college. And I was like, I have a great view, which I did. I legit had a great view of the quad. So it was like, I wasn't, this is real. I wouldn't lie to her. So she said, like, okay. And I was like, all right? So she went to class, and I went back to my room to begin what I call the process, right? So I had a 3-step process when a girl came to my room that I did for shamefully many years in college. First step was to put on the Braveheart soundtrack. Right. Second step was to turn the halogen lamp, which were legal back then, turn the halogen lamp to setting 2, which is like the makeout session, right? It was real dark. And step 3, for reasons that I still don't understand, I would put on mesh shorts. I know. I thought it was sort of like I'm casual, but I'm also excited to see you. I don't know what it was. So, and as part of this new plan we had, I wrote Lou called on the whiteboard. And I didn't just write Lou called. I was like, Lou called, call Lou back. Lou called again. It's serious. I think Lou is dying. I mean, the whole whiteboard was covered in Lou called, right? And I waited, right? And the knock came at the door, and I opened the door, and she was there, looking lovely as always, and I was there with strains of bagpipes coming over my head, and I'm sure a raging erection, and I was like, oh, hey, want to come in? And like many Vassar women who are faced with their predicament, you sort of could see the whole like, fine, right? Like she knew. It was like, this is, all right. So she came in. And so now we're getting it on, right? We're hooking up, right? The mesh shorts are off and the top is off, right? And I'm rounding all kinds of bases and the drums and the beating and the bagpipes, it's all happening, right? And I'm like, I'm trying to please her in ways that I'm just doing things. Like, Sarah McLachlan had an album called Fumbling Towards Ecstasy, which is exactly like what I was doing. Also, pro tip, Fumbling Towards Ecstasy, way better album than the Braveheart soundtrack if you want to hook up. You can take that one, that's yours. So we're getting, now we've moved on past the petting, and now I think it's gonna happen, right? This is it, I'm going to the mountaintop. We're locked in, right? And then as I'm ready to do whatever, I hear the elevator. And the second it was an older building, and the second I heard the elevator, I'm like, oh, it's him. I know it's him. In the core of my body, I knew it was him. So I'm still stay on target, right? I'm like, doo-doo-doo-doo, right? Like, tune all the buttons and hands, and right, things are happening, right? On a twin bed, mind you, by the way. This is like fucking Twister, and it was like a whole, right, this thing's, and I can hear it, and the elevator stops, and I hear him walk down the hall. I know it's him. And then I hear, oh, Lou called, and the door just swings fucking open, right? And she screams, and I'm just staring at him, like, butt-ass naked, like, and he's like, oh, and he closed the door, right? And he's like, sorry. And I was like, what do we say? What do we say? What was the code word? What was the code word? Lou called. We're like yelling at the door. And what's written on that door? Look at the door, what's written on the door? He's like, Lou called a lot. I'm like, so what's going on? He's like, bro, I met a guy named Lou at the library today. And I'm like, what? What are the chances that in the day that I'm to lose my virginity, you meet a guy named Lou at the goddamn library? Like, how does that happen? I've totally forgotten there's like a naked woman, right? I'm just like lost it, right? And he's like, oh, you know, it's funny, because I didn't give him my number. I'm like, you want you to give the number? How the fuck would he call? He couldn't call. Why would he call so many times? And in this moment, I noticed that Sarah was dressed and at the door, because women, when they're angry, can get dressed real fast, right? So she was dressed at the door, and the door opens, and he's still standing there. I'm covering myself with my mesh shorts, and she just turns and says, I never want to talk to you ever again. And I was like, that's fair. I told you got it. My condolences. And the door closes, right? And I go back to screaming. I'm like, you've taken the only thing I ever wanted my entire life from me. Like, I was this close to victory, and it's all over. I'll never have sex ever again, right? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. And so we ended up laughing, because it's the only thing you can do when you're screaming at each other through a door, right? So that was fine. So we went back to Tippy Toe, because we're clearly not able to handle any kind of simple, basic code words. And some of you might be concerned, I did lose my virginity. Yep, thank you. It was December 13th, 1995. My birthday, and in keeping with your birthday, I did not get her a present. I think that's fair to say. I was very sorry, it was not. But it was quick, so. Like, yeah, who's been great their first time? Come with the fuck on, right? All right, so anyway, So I got that out of the way, right? And so then later in the spring, now I'm coming home, back to my dorm room, and I walk up to the door, and I see Tippy Toe written in big letters on the door. I stood up, and I was like, Tippy Toe? I just met a guy named Tippy Toe at the library today. That's my time, everybody.